Oh, we are live. You never can tell with this. Sometimes it says, hey, you're live, and the other time it says, hey, click this button to go live. So I do both, and it seems to work. Because you know what? I'm on YouTube right now, and it shows that I'm live. That's pretty sweet. So let me take off my glasses, fluff my hair, shake out the critters out of the beard. Wait for people to join me. Come all ye and join me and hear what I have to say. So, I hope y'all have checked out my foray, my stepping into video production. Now, these live shows, streams, I wouldn't consider video production because I don't edit these, right? It's the way it plays out here, and that's the way it stays. The ones that suck, suck. The ones that are okay are okay. They start, they end, they have a middle. So I don't consider these to be videos. These are live streams, and that's what happens. So what I consider video are the ones that I have done on my biscuit making, right? So very small amount of editing there, and that is I make clips, stick them together, put that little transition in there. And the last one I did, I had some clapping and some special effects, not visually, but sound effects. So anyway, how do y'all like those? Leave me a comment, let me know. I've had some, actually, I think a couple of new subscribers comment on those, and they're kind of fun to make. I couldn't imagine making those videos on a regular basis and editing them and then putting them up, because just the 2 or 3 clips that I have to weld together, put together, pick the claps, you know, those kind of things, and then upload. And YouTube uploads them, and then it goes through them and scrutinizes them somehow, and then it publishes them out there. It takes a long time. Of course, like a lot of people, I do it on this iPhone that I've got, and I downloaded some free apps and do it, which seems to work. But anyway, leave me a comment on if you like those or not. I still have yet to make a good recipe, a good dough that makes good biscuits. Now, I've eaten all of them, and the chef eats his mistakes, okay? So that's the way I roll. But anyway, if you're watching this live, I appreciate it. If you're watching it later on YouTube, I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment. That helps get, the channel into the recognition. Now, you'll also see, if you look close, I did a Twitch stream the other day, just for my own benefit, just for a little fun, just for something different. And I streamed, hey Cleo, you thought I looked good? You thought it looked good? It's so many things. Maybe you thought my Twitch stream looked good. Because I played a game that I used to play with my kids. I had to set it up. And I thought, I might try that a little on Twitch. Streaming some of these old retro games that I've got laying around here for kids. Some of them are, adult games, first-person shooters, those kind of things. I think I've got Oregon Trail 1 and 2. I don't know. My kids played that. The biscuits look good. they did look good. Those second batch looked like biscuits. They kind of tasted like biscuits. They had a little different taste, but man, I screwed them up too. I mean, you know, I was afraid of putting too much flour in, and that resulted in me not putting enough flour in initially. And the reason I was afraid to put too much flour in because I knew I didn't have any heavy whipping cream to come in and balance that out. So I knew if I had too much flour in it, I was done. And I erred by not putting enough in there. And that's the reason, that's the reason I got it all over my sticky fingers and made that mess. But anyway, I mean, they weren't bad. I still have one left, but I'll try, you know, better. And I put a poll out there. I don't know how this works on YouTube on something. I made mention of it at the end of that video. I might try to put something in the biscuits. So look for that poll. Let me know what you think, and I'll try some of that. So anyway, tonight, as most of the time happens, I was talking with a guy I work with. I can't help talk to him because he rides around in the van with me. I try to leave him places, but he always, I don't know, he always gets back in. Right, Craig? So, anyway, we were talking today, and we have a mutual acquaintance that has fallen on hard times, and they're brothers, and they lost their place, their apartment, and apparently one brother, he had been sick, as I understood it today, and I haven't confirmed it, but he is in hospice, and the other brother is staying in his truck, or in the truck, in the car, whatever. And I don't, you know, I'm sure they don't have a lot of money. I don't, you know them well enough to know their personal finances or anything, but I'm sure, you know, they're not set up to have funeral expenses, and that led to the conversation. Man, that's terrible. You know, one of them's going to pass away, and the other one, you know, like many cases, will try to figure out a way to pay for a funeral. And so, started a conversation on what happens if you don't have the money to put your loved one, your next of kin, you know, pay for a funeral. What happens? So, did a little research, and like I said, just a little research into what happens in Tennessee. It's hard to limit it to just Tennessee. You do Google searches and you get national. I try to limit it to the United States. I got a lot of UK stuff. All right. So, but, you know, what is a pauper's funeral? They don't call it that anymore. It's indigent, which is a more modern term for paupers. I know I'm probably not saying that right, but a pauper. I looked up the definition. There's some biblical references and those kind of things. But anyway, indigent's what they're using now. If you saw the live stream I had about the body farm, I want to say Death's on Acre, but Death's on Acre is a book about the body farm. I'm getting, you know, off on a tangent. But anyway, the body farm. I think they still do, and I know at first they did get bodies donated to them that were unclaimed. Okay, so didn't dive in too much about what's unclaimed, but basically, generally, unclaimed is someone that passes away that they cannot find a responsible party, either a spouse, next of kin, or relative, or somebody like that, that can say, yeah, I'll take care of Uncle Hank, and I'll, you know, step up and do that. So That doesn't mean they're poor or broke. I mean, people die in strange circumstances, and for all you know, they may have walked away from a very good life and, become untraceable or, you just can't find anybody that's responsible for them. But anyway, those still do and have gone to the body farm. And I don't know the process or anything. You can always donate your body to the body farm or to medical research or, become a cadaver for medical schools and things like that. So, but we were specifically talking about if you had a relative or you had a family member and they couldn't afford to put you through, to have a funeral, because the funerals are really expensive. And so, I found a couple of things. Let's look at just real quick the definition for a pauper. And let me do a couple of things here to get this up and running. You know the drill. I've got to find it. I've got to set it up. I've got to get my pretty mug out of the way. I'm going to hide my telephone number. I don't have that running right now. Let's just get that there. Squish me up there. Let me do that. Okay. So I think you should be seeing that now. It shows that it's on the screen. So a pauper, and this is of course Webster's dictionary, person destitute of means except such as are derived from charity. Man, why do people talk like that? It's a person that's destitute except for what he gets from charity, or he, she, they get from charity. Specifically, one who receives aids from funds designated for the poor. Another is a very poor person. Okay, like I said, there was a skip to Mylo, my darling. Nope, that's not it. There was one that defined it. Negative. What? Where did that go? Pauper. Okay, here we go. This is from joincake.com. It's a blog. For many people, the word pauper makes them think of the biblical Proverbs 28:6, which says, "It is better to be a pauper walking in integrity than a dishonest man, even if he is rich." The Bible defines a pauper as someone with a strong moral code. I mean, I guess you could see that. If you say no to all the potential money-making schemes out there, then you would have integrity instead of money. All right. So we'll look at this a little more, but that's basically, like I said, now they call it indigent, which means, you don't have the funds to do a lot of things or to cover expenses and those kind of things. Okay. And, this is the definition of that. A pauper's funeral occurs when the deceased survivors are unable to afford the cost of a funeral. It may also happen if no survivors can be located for a person who has died. Or it could happen if the family refuses to claim the body. So I don't know in Tennessee if you can refuse that. Because if you've ever gone to the hospital, had surgeries, or done anything like that, man, there's like bunches of stuff that you have to be filling out. And a lot of that is, who is your next of kin? How do we get our money if you die? Basically, that's what they want to know. They may put it out there as, I'm clicking around trying to find where I was. Nope. What happens? Here we go. I think this is, we're back. Okay. So, yeah. So they're going to have it on record with the hospital, with somebody. Okay. The next of kin. You know, those people move or they change their phone numbers or whatever. So it can be possible that, you know, they couldn't pinpoint a next of kin. And one of the things about doing that is being able to identify your body to say, hey, you're Hank, you know, Melissa is your sister who is your next of kin. We're going to contact her, right? Now, can Melissa say, whoa, step back. I'm not claiming, you know, this dude is my brother or relative or anything. Can she do that? I don't know. You know, the history, the term Pauper's funeral originated in Great Britain. That's probably why when I did research, I was getting all these UK references. The term can be traced back to the 1580s. During that time, under the poor laws, destitute people were buried with funds from the government program, which some states still have that. Does Tennessee? We'll check in on that. Okay? That's one of the things I was going to look at. So, I wish, this is not anything to do with you all, I wish I could get the silly chat to work properly. Looks like maybe Clell's the only dudette that is out there sharing the thoughts. You know, that's fine. Nobody, you don't have to, you know, say anything if you don't want to. I'm just trying to figure out if there's anybody out there trying to say anything while I'm talking. It's not clear whether the word pauper funeral is widely used in the United States, but why wouldn't it be? Because, you know, we're from England. Most of us, a lot of us, the first peoples, anyway. Instead, potter's fields are referenced in local history records. The term potter's field came from the Bible. It referred to the field of blood that Judas purchased with the coins he received for betraying Jesus. After Judas killed himself, the field was used as a burial ground. The bodies of the strangers, criminals, and poor were interned there. It was called a potter's field because the land was rich in red clay. That clay was harvested for the area's pots to do their work. So I guess when they dug a grave, then, you know, you can't get all that dirt back in there, right? Because now you got a body in there. It takes up some of the dirt. So maybe the potter said, we'll just use that extra dirt to make our pots out of. With a little research, you may be able to find that there's a potter's field in your area. Lincoln Park in Chicago is probably the most famous potter's field. Thousands of people are said to have been buried in the area, now covered with the baseball field. Didn't know that. And there's hundreds of thousands of dead buried on the island of Manhattan. Madison Square Park, Washington Square Park, and Bryant Park were all originally potter's fields. Nearby Hart Island was used for many purposes throughout history. At times, it was a prison camp, a psychiatric hospital, a tuberculosis sanitarium, and a drug rehabilitation center. It is also a potter's field. Wow. So, I mean, it's crazy. If you ever watched, what was that daggone movie where she got sucked into the TV, the little girl, and the little lady, go away from the light, don't go to the light. And there was a preacher, a scary preacher man, and that subdivision was built on a cemetery. That's how it became haunted or possessed or whatever. And at the end of the movie, you know, the bodies started coming up out of the ground and stuff. I think I'm thinking of that movie, right? What's the name of that thing? Oh, Quill's saying something. Nope, not The Exorcist. No, the little girl got sucked in the TV, and she was tapping on the TV. Mommy, let me out! Let me out! And the dude, preacher man, had captured her. Like I said, that little actress, little lady. She could almost fit in the TV herself. But anyway, I think that subdivision they were in was built on a poltergeist. There you go. Thank you, Robert. There you go. I brought you out of your lurking status into the limelight by asking questions I knew you'd have the answer to. So, poltergeist was buried on or built on a cemetery. Can you imagine? I mean, I thought that was all against the law. I thought the bodies had to be moved and processed, and I just didn't think they could, cover you with another 6 foot of dirt and then play baseball on top of you. I don't know. That's disrespectful. So, paupers, potter's fields, all those kind of things. It leads into lots of questions. And my Tennessee 211 spinning around. Okay. Let's see what this was. Well, that's not at all where it started out to be. Let me go back a page. Okay. Burial cremation expense assistance. So some places, some localities have programs where if you qualify, you can ask for assistance in funding for burying, your relative or loved one. But there's not a lot of those out there. Okay. I think this one said that. Let's see, this is the one. Hmm. Okay. Alabama, Memphis. Let's see if there's anything close by. What? Come on, man. Oh, is this where I put it? This is where I put it? Okay. Let's see what it says. I didn't think, I didn't think Sullivan County offered anything like that, assistance. And I thought that was kind of strange. But yeah, I don't think they offer it. I saw one in Davidson County around Nashville that you can apply for assistance. Uh, uh, this doesn't make sense because it's all lawyer speak. But anyway, no warrant shall be drawn to pay for funeral or cremation expenses of a pauper unless the claim is accompanied by an affidavit showing the cost of the same, that the expenses were incurred for the interment of a pauper in the county, and that the claimant has no other means of obtaining payment. I don't see. It's all lawyer speak, but that's a code in Tennessee, and I don't know if that is a code that the counties or cities or localities can use to try to recoup the money that they would spend on funeral if they did uh, bury someone that was indigent. So let's see. Okay. So this is where I was referring to earlier Okay, Clell says Citizens Cemetery. Is that the one that was in Poltergeist? It makes sense because, well, I know there's a Citizen Cemetery uh, in Bristol, Virginia, and there are probably some. I think there was one listed somewhere over in Bristol, Tennessee. But yeah, that's where they usually bury the people that don't, used to. They'd, I guess back in the day, you get a pine box and that was it, and they'd put you in the unmarked grave. I guess if they didn't know your name or whatever. And a lot of these places call it the Citizen Cemetery. This Funeral Wise, which is I guess a website put out by funeral directors and things. Tennessee does not offer burial assistance. Some counties offer a limited amount of assistance that may have done away with programs with assistance with burial. Nashville offers a burial assistance through its Metro Social Service Office programs available to the residents of Davidson County. You can apply, and this goes through state by state. So, I mean, it's looking like there's not much in the way of that for Tennesseans. So, this was another form I found. Talks about no state law or constitutional provision requires a local government to provide a burial or cremation or other funeral services for indigent individuals. County legislative bodies are authorized to appropriate money. That means they can if they want to. For the burial or cremation expenses of any person dying in the county, leaving no means to pay for the same. Tennessee Code, but they are required to do so, blah, blah, blah. State law does impose certain requirements with respect to unclaimed bodies. However, a coroner or medical examiner who is unable to deliver the body of the deceased to relatives shall cause the deceased to be decently buried or cremated. So it falls upon the medical examiner or the coroner of your locality to make that happen. I mean, they are the ones that say, this person's dead, died in Sullivan County or wherever, and I guess it's their office that then would, try to find a next of kin, a relative, or somebody to claim the body and, make arrangements to have that done. Because it is, according to this, it shall cause, the office shall cause the deceased to be decently buried or cremated in accordance with applicable laws governing cremation. When a coroner or medical examiner provides for the burial or cremation of an unclaimed body, these expenses must be paid from the property found with the body, or, if there is none, from the county treasurer. So, just like anything else, it sounds like the state of Tennessee, or any state for that matter, doesn't provide the funding, but they make it requirement that somebody does it and doesn't give them the funds to do it. And so we're going to tell you that you have to do it, but we're not going to tell you how you get paid for it or how it gets paid for. So, I think some of that is how your body gets donated, or these people's bodies get donated to the body farm. Then once they're done, at the body farm, somebody does, I think, bury them, cremate the remains, that kind of stuff. No other state laws or general applicability impose requirements on the county or local governments related to the burial, cremation, or funeral expenses of the indigent. Ryan's not paying. I ain't paying for you either. You're on your own. So there was a couple of things here that I thought was interesting. Oh, that's a bunch of mumbo jumbo there. That's my Facebook there. Okay, average cost. So I don't like clicking on ads, so I'm not going to click on that. You know, let's see, one of these, that's the definition, is it not? That's it. What's he saying now? I ain't paying for the funeral, I want to be put on the body farm. Well, you can do that. Sign up, dude. Sign up now. You can make arrangements and they'll call you and say, are you ready? You can tell them, oh, yeah or no. Yep. Save money on funeral costs with a simple, dignified cremation service in Tennessee. Now, this is probably a bunch of hoo-wah propaganda right here, but it says the total average cost for a funeral is nearer to $10,000 to $15,000. I don't know if that's true or not. This over here talks about average funeral costs in Tennessee, basic services and embalming. Let's see if it gives us a total down here. Where did that go? Take us. Pricing, contracts, burial exceptions, death certificates, embalming, preservation, funeral basics, cremation. All right. Basic services, embalming, transportation, casket, facility, staff, direct cremation, burial, Memphis. So they don't give you totals, they just break it down. Nobody wants to make this stuff simple, man. You know, because they're all afraid. They know. They know if you find it out, and it's like, oh my gosh, where was that one that I saw? I had one. Okay, how can I save money? Now, I didn't know this was a thing. Okay, arranging a home funeral or a natural burial. Conducting a home funeral or arranging for a natural green burial. It's got to be green, man. It can't be red or blue, yellow. It's got to be green. Can save on funeral costs. Looking after the care of the deceased yourself at home means you do not have to pay for the services and overhead of a funeral home. This is not for everyone, right? Right. I'll tell them I'm ready, and they'll send an assassin to finish me off. Robert donated his body, I guess, and they rejected it. Yeah. Well, you have to be dead first, Robert. See, that's what Ryan's saying. When he calls them up and says, I'm ready, then they'll finish him off, and they'll take him. They're not going to take you while you're still kicking. They have to feed you on the way. See, if you're living, they have to feed you like your last supper or something. That's just adds more expense to the whole thing. This is not for everyone, but there are organizations who support families that wish to tend to the death and care of their loved one. Read more about this in your do-it-yourself funeral care. Natural burial grounds are not as expensive as conventional cemeteries, and you do not need a casket. I don't know about all that. A simple biodegradable container is acceptable. In many cases, a home funeral can be conducted for between $500 to $1,000. The average cost of full service cremation is around $6,000 in Tennessee. However, a basic cremation can be arranged for much less than this. An affordable cremation in Tennessee can be conducted for $1,000, $9.95. This is everything to take care of the disposition of the deceased, complete all necessary paperwork, and return the cremated remains to the family. So, that will kill him, all right? Yep, if he donated his body to her, that will kill him. So, back to that, the original question. What are these fellas going to do? I have no idea. Like I said, I don't know them well enough to be into their personal affairs. We were just talking that was, it was a sad turn of events, and we wondered what might happen. And that started the question, like many other questions we get involved with, is like, I wonder what that means, or how does that work, or why don't they try this, or why don't they do that? Like, I don't know the difference between a basic and full cremation. Where was that? Full service cremation. I mean, that's my plan. I'm going to be cremated. I'm going to check in if I can just pay for it now. While propane and stuff's cheap, right? Who knows? A few more years, propane may be sky high, and they throw some lighter fluid on you and throw a match on it, do a funeral pyre, or push you out in the middle of South Holston Lake on a raft with some sticks and brush covering you up and make you fish food, which wouldn't be bad, I don't guess, right? It was good enough for the Viking kings and royalty and that kind of stuff. Why not me? But I think cremation is the way to go. Okay. I'm not up on my Bible studies well enough to know if that's going to hurt me in the second coming. I mean, it may. I don't know. But cross that bridge when we come to it, I guess. I just think that's the way to go. I don't think I want to be attended to at home. Back in the day, that was what they did, I think. A lot of people out in the country, somebody died, they would take it to the house, take the body to the house. Relatives or friends, maybe even the, loved ones of the deceased, would wash the body, dress the body. Friends would come by the home, view the body, and then they would take it to the family cemetery or wherever it was going to be out back. Somebody would come by, family, friends, dig the hole, put the person in there, say some few words, cover it up. So, yeah, back in those days, that was the only way. Either that or they just left you out in the yard or in the barn or out in the field or wherever you died, who else was going to do it? Then they become undertakers and, civilized funerals and those kind of things. But I didn't know that was a thing. I don't know if you could, what you have to do to say I want to be buried in my backyard. Nobody. There's a place in Kingsport that's on the lake. I mean, Fort Patrick Henry, nice subdivision on the lake, and there's like a cemetery of 4 or 5 people on this lot. And the people bought the lot and built a house right next to this cemetery, this family plot cemetery. And they're lakefront. It's crazy. And it's fenced off. And I assume they have to maintain the cemetery. Right? But I just, all these small family cemeteries, and it's the thing. Out in the country, You owned a farm, you had some extra acreage on the hill, you didn't plant tobacco or corn or any crops up there. Fence it all so the cattle don't get on it. And, plant your family there that have passed away. Not uncommon. But when we put in a wooden boat, have someone shoot it, flaming arrow is a sail away. Now listen, Ryan, you can't have it all, bud. Of course, now, I guess you die, you go to the body farm, and let the worms crawl in, the worms crawl out, worms play pinochle upon your snout. Then when they're done with you, they put you in a boat, send you down Tennessee River. The local high school archery teams out there, bullseye. Light the boat on fire, sink to the bottom, fish food. I think we can arrange all that. That sounds like a plan, Stan. We'll make that stuff happen. Make that stuff happen. I want to be put in a wooden boat. Yep. All right. So it's interesting. I think now is the time to figure out how much it costs, pay for it now, get that out of the way, make arrangements. I can tell you from personal experience, it makes it a lot easier to go the route of having everything paid for and laid out as opposed to do nothing and, make the family decide in a week what to do with you. So make your arrangements, get it out there, pay for it, put that behind you. Beaver Creek, we'll call it Ryan's Creek. If that happens, we'll just call it Ryan's Creek. So, to drop back just a little bit, on my last video, last show, it's a video now, but then when it was live, it was a show. I tried and got very frustrated with Reddit about posting the question, what would you do for a Klondike bar? So before I got on here tonight, I gathered myself up, put in my Zen mode, and I got onto Reddit, and I put the question out there. What would you do, or what did you do? What did you do? Could have been already happened for a Klondike bar. All right? So, I haven't looked at it in a few minutes. Of course, I've been talking to y'all's faces and ears right here, so I haven't had time. So let's look at this and see what people would do or did do for a Klondike bar. This might take a while. We've been on here 43 minutes so far. Let's get ready for another 43 because I am very popular on Reddit. Yeah. All right, here we go. Okay, so this person, Can of Puffer, 2940, went down Sliding Rock in North Carolina in the winter for a Klondike bar and a shot of whiskey. And this person was in college. So I wanted to know, whiskey before, during, or after the slide, and did you get your bar for doing it? And I thought they deserved 2 shots and 2 bars for doing it in the wintertime. So they replied, yes to all. A group of us were camping. They were having, I guess the other people in the group were having cereal with whiskey. All right. I prefer my cereal dry, which was with a shot of the whiskey on the side, like you should have a salad. You go to the salad, Always get your dressing on the side because you may want to eat a tomato and a cucumber with some celery on it raw without having to deal with the dressing. You can dip it in there if you want it. All right. So I don't know. It had to have been during the day. These people were eating cereal and whiskey, and they decided to bet to see who would go down Sliding Rock. Now, I've never been there, but I'm sure I can picture, everybody can picture in mind what this is about. 3 of us went down, me and 2 guys, in 1983. Water was colder back then in the winter, by the way. Right? It had to have been because it was, 1983. Vague memory of somebody saying, "What would you do for a Klondike bar?" Luckily, the corner store had some, and I wanted to give them a Klondike bar tonight because that's a cool story. So now this one, I don't know. Go to my friend Dylan's house. They usually had them and were content to give me one. Those are such a product of the 90s and 2000s that it's bananas. They still make them, of course. These days, I'm more into plain, decent quality chocolate. Yeah, that is not a bad choice. Not a bad choice. I'm not dying to have ice cream in the winter. I also take a med that slows my metabolism, and cold food gives me the shivers. Just read your last sentence. That's hilarious. Marking is a hell of a thing. I was just thinking some polar bears jonesing for ice cream was normal, but dang. Let's see. Let's reply to him. I can relate, and I can't type without looking. Just be quiet. Shivers. Thanks for your reply. Oop, that's not a period. That's a period. I can relate to Teehee. How about the shivers? Thanks for your reply. Oh my gosh, it's still Teehee. There it is. So what he was referring to was up here. I said, let's keep it clean, okay? It's the age-old question. What would you do, or maybe what did you do for a Klondike bar? Now, if you're not familiar with the Klondike bar, it's what bears eat as ice cream when they're not eating people. All right? So, that's what he was referring to in my last sentence. And so, let's see what Reddit has to say. This has been viewed 381 times, 50% upvote rate. I got 97 community karma points for that. No shares. Man, if you're on Reddit, get out there, share this thing. Let's see what other people will or did do for a Klondike bar, okay? Ryan wants to know, and we're all here to give Ryan what he wants. So we're going to shoot him with a flaming arrow as he runs down Beaver Creek, right? Sounds like a plan. All right. So apparently I did that. I wish they'd tell me how long it's been out there. It's been out there an hour or so, I would guess, the question. Whoa, 2 hours ago. So, sorry, Ryan. It's not a burning question. It's been out there 2 hours. I got 2 responses. I really did expect it to get more responses than that. But I guess when I put out there, let's keep it clean, that's what screwed it up. Right? Because the majority of the people are out there doing some nasty stuff for them Klondike bars. But anyway, I think we've been on here almost 50 minutes now. So we've covered an important topic. I know nobody wants to think about it, but you should. You should take care of it. Don't put your loved ones through the question of what do we do, how do we do it, what do they want. those kind of things. Just go ahead, take care of it, get it done, and put it to rest. Asked the question, got that out there. I mean, I guess if I spent more time with Reddit, I mean, it could be fun. If you could make your own community, I mean, you could make your own community if you could think up something nobody else has thought of. Okay. I did learn that on Reddit there is a roadkill community, which I watched the Roadkill Show, and I think that's what it's listed as, the Roadkill Show. And people get on there and ask questions and comment about things, all things roadkill. So that was interesting. I joined that, and me and Craig were talking about the LSD. See down here, LSD is a community on Reddit, and the way they talk there, LSD is as common as marijuana. I don't know. I don't think so, but that's just the way they make it sound. And the reason I joined that group is I posed a question to that group, and I didn't get the responses that I was thinking, and I was looking for the an angle on a show, to do a show, and the question was basically, do you think Ebenezer Scrooge was tripping on LSD or acid when he saw the three ghosts, and he just basically hallucinated the whole story of Christmas past, present, and future? But when he came down from his trip, he was so relieved he was a changed man still, and started doing good things. Because there's, a school of thought that LSD gets you in touch with inner selves, helps you fight your inner demons, and makes you a better person, or could make you a better person in the end. Or you turn you into Charles Manson and you kill some people. But that's just the downside. Anyway, and I got a couple of responses, and that was it. I mean, I was really thinking I might get more to do a show, but I didn't, and so we didn't do that show. But I might still do it, Anyway, I appreciate everybody coming, everybody checking in. Like I said, if you watched it live, thank you. If you watch it later on YouTube, thank you. Like, subscribe, comment. Let's get, a couple of comments going. Maybe. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever. Anyway, if you got ideas for a show, email me. It's I got to come up with some other images. I call them images because that's what you do. Now I've got this one, the old software that I was using, and I might go back to that because I like OBS, but the other one had banners. You could put banners and it'd stream across. Maybe you can still do that with this. I don't know, but I can put the telephone number up there. I can put the email up there. But everything's Minutes with Mylo. So minuteswithmylo@gmail. Email me some show ideas. Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. I'm still on there. And give me some show ideas. Come along. Get on, talk. Get on video. Get in the chat. Interact. Tell me what's going on. Peyote, maybe. No LSD. Maybe Scrooge was a schizo. Could have been. Yep. Don't know. Good story. What about the Purloined Letter? If you haven't read it. Edgar Allan Poe. I think that's about your subconscious and your guilt. I don't want to spoil it. You can read it. Uh, anyway, I appreciate everybody coming. We've been on here 54 minutes, which is way too long. I try to shoot for 30. Everybody knows that. One of these days, I'm going to cut it off at 30. Just push the button and call it a night. So I appreciate everybody. For those I'll see you tomorrow, you're lucky. For those I won't see you tomorrow, check in on Thursday. You can catch me here again, probably about 9 o'clock. And until then, dancing phalanges. Where are they? There they are. Why are they always over here? Wow. Ooh. Bye-bye.